Am I the a-hole for telling my brother to get out and taking his bitch of a wife when he asked for some of our mom's ashes? My mom used to live near my brother. She was a quiet person in general, and after dad died was lonely. She wanted to have dinner with my brother and his family often. His wife, Kara, didn't like that, and they agreed to do it once a month. Mom started to have issue and would send panic texts and went to the doctors randomly. Around this time his wife made a lot of posts about how she was an attention seeker and was making up problems. That she was trying to cause a wedge in their relationship. My brother stopped visiting our mother. It was everywhere, and I do not like Kara at all. When this started happening, I decided to visit my mom, live in another state. It took me a day to realize something was wrong. Took her to the doctors and she had dementia. I informed the family and became the main caretaker. Kara continued to make posts or comments that she is faking it. My brother stood by her the whole time. I literally begged him to come visit before she passed on. She was cremated and I have the ashes. He didn't even come to the viewing. This is the issue. He and Kara showed up asking for some of our mom's ashes. I told him no, that he didn't even see her before she died. This started an argument against the two. By the end of it, I told him to get out and take his bitch of his wife with him. He has been calling me a jerk and telling me I have to apologize. The family is torn. Some are saying fuck him and Kara, bit other are saying I would give in because it's his mom also.
Not the a-hole. At this point, why does he even want her ashes? I feel like his wife wouldn't even want them on display in her home. I think he's realizing just how much of an a-hole he is being viewed by the family and is asking for the ashes to save face and appear like a caring son. If he didn't even come to the viewing funeral, I really don't understand why he would want the cremains.
He's also probably riddled with guilt, and by performing some kind of reverence to her ashes, he can tell himself he properly cherished her.
That's a bingo.
Yep. He regrets listening to his wife and is trying to alleviate some of his guilt. Let him wallow in it, OP. He deserves to live with that guilt for the rest of his life.
Not the a-hole whatever you decide, but just remember that the dead don't give a fuck what happens to their remains. If your mother had expressed wishes for her remains that involved you and your brother, then you can honor those, of course. But ultimately, she doesn't give a shit now. Sorry for your loss, but that's the fact. Your brother didn't show respect during her life, so he doesn't deserve respect after her death, is my opinion. Personally, I think I'd probably just say, oops, scattered them already. If asked again.
Louder for the people in the back. Unless it was explicitly stated, or you know in your heart of hearts that that is a thing that now deceased wanted, there is 0 point to playing this what would she have wanted game.
How long was your mother suffering from dementia before her diagnosis, and how long before she passed away? I only ask because I was the caretaker for my dad before he passed, and even knowing that he had developed dementia, it was hard for me to handle his behavior. A lot of people in his life didn't understand and either took offense or were hurt by his behavior, and I don't really blame them. It's a horrible disease. And what those people can say and do, it still hurts even if you understand why it's happening. Was your mother intrusive in their lives prior to her diagnosis and symptoms? You said your sister-in-law had to limit her visits? My mom was a lot like you. She refused to allow anyone who didn't stick by her and my dad's side to grieve with us, and went so far as to not even tell some of his family members he had died. I understood that she was hurt and abandoned by them, but my dad wouldn't have wanted that. Not everyone is qualified to be a caregiver emotionally, psychologically, and I'm sorry it fell to you. I would consider asking yourself if this is all worth it. They may be worse people than you, or they may not be as strong as you. But your brother lost his mother also, and you don't want to become like them just because you are hurt. I'm sorry for your loss.
I'm a caretaker also, and I totally get how difficult it can be, and I don't blame people who can't handle it. I would, however, blame people for going on and publicly online claiming it was fake and for attention. Caretaking isn't a pleasant job and can absolutely destroy you if you let it. I'd be livid if people went online and acted like my person wasn't sick and that I was doing a pointless job.
Good point. That was above and beyond not understanding, and I would definitely write the sister-in-law off completely. The brother shouldn't have supported her decisions to do that, and I can understand OP's anger.
Totally agree. I can't imagine how hurtful it would be. That being said, I'm also a pushover and I would give some of the ashes. I'm not trying to live for any regret, and I would hope brother would develop his own guilt over the situation. Ashes going wouldn't hurt me and certainly wouldn't help him, so I wouldn't die on that hill. I wouldn't speak to sister-in-law, and I'd struggle to speak to brother in the future.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to taxi my children to see their dad? My children are teenagers. Their dad doesn't drive, he has no license. Today is his day to have them, and he expects them dropped off at his house, a 20-minute drive away, around 8 miles. He owes child maintenance money which he is withholding. Is messaging me constant abuse, calling me a money-grabbing cunt, and other vile words, even though it's not me who has asked him for more money, it was determined by the child maintenance service. He says that by me not chauffeuring them around, I'm stopping him seeing them. I've said he is welcome to come and pick them up, his new partner has a car. I'd never refuse him access, but I will no longer drive them to him, surely it's his responsibility to come and get them. So, am I the a-hole, because he makes me feel like one? Thanks. Edit. He has now called the children and said he'll be over to collect them later this afternoon, I assume, with his partner driving. Thanks everyone X.
Not the a-hole for not taking on 100% of the transport responsibility. Presumably he is managing to get around elsewhere without a car or your help, so there is no reason he cannot work out picking up his kids. Having said this, if your sole reason for not driving them is because he is being a nasty bastard and doesn't deserve your help and not because it is an inconvenience added expense for you, then please also consider your kids before making this stance. How will they feel if they don't get to go? Is there any way you could speak to him and the kids about the fact that you need to scale back and eventually stop taking on the transport responsibilities for both parents, thus giving him, and showing the kids that you are giving him, ample time to come up with alternative arrangements?
I've spoken to the kids about this issue and how I can't afford to take on the responsibility for petrol costs. I work 2 jobs, earning minimum wage. He earns £80,000 plus a year, so they understand why I'm doing this. I feel awful that I could be made out to be the bad guy, when I'm simply doing what is affordable for me currently, with his lack of payments.
It's important to not put adult problems on children, especially if the problems are between their parents. That kind of thing can wind up with you being the bad guy. That's not what you're doing though, so try to let go of that guilt. Your children are teenagers. They know you work 2 jobs. Telling them you simply can't afford the added cost caused by your ex-husband's inability to manage his side of transportation isn't unreasonable.
I have 6 children with my ex-husband, and in the decade we've been apart, I have not one day, not one time, transported them to him for his visitation time. No court has ordered it, no court has encouraged it, and in fact, he was court-ordered to buy a vehicle big enough to manage transportation all by his grown-up self. The responsibility for his visitation has been laid solely on him, and he has waived it plenty of times by not showing up. The eventual distance he created by his absence is his fault, not mine. Additionally, we are court-ordered to communicate solely through a co-parenting app called Our Family Wizard to prevent similar vitriol coming from him to me. Something similar might be helpful for you. Hang in there. Not the a-hole. Edit, typos.
Thank you, this makes me feel a whole lot better and that app sounds amazing.
Not the a-hole. Responsibility is 50-50 and access is not the same as transportation. For example, I have access to a 24/7 gym, but it's my responsibility to get off my lazy ass over there. The father has access to his kids on the given days. OP is not locking them up and denying him that. He just has to put in the effort to get off his lazy ass to get them.
Am I the a-hole for bringing an uninvited guest to a destination wedding? I, 26 female, was invited to a wedding within my state but far enough that to attend I'd have to sleep over at a hotel for at least 2 nights if I arrived the night before, as it was planned to be a pretty much all-day affair. I was very flattered to be invited as I didn't think I was that close to the couple. It was a fairly small wedding, 60 guests including the bridal party. Obviously, as it was very small and I was possibly a second-round invitee, I didn't get a +1. Fine with me. I ultimately decided to go. When I went to book the hotel room for my stay, I found they only had large rooms available, multiple beds or king beds, etc., as it's a popular wedding destination and is a bit fancy. So, I thought, why not invite my boyfriend, 26 male? That way we could trade off on the long drive there and back and share the big room I would have to pay for anyways. The idea was that night we arrived we could get dinner together somewhere new and have a nice breakfast before heading back home. While I was at the wedding events he could just hang out in the hotel room or the pool or whatever. The wedding went great, but then after it wrapped up, the maid of honor, who I'm closer to than the bride, was chatting with me as I walked back to my room and I knocked on the door instead of digging through my bag for the keycard. When my boyfriend opened the door for me the mo just greeted him and walked off. I didn't think it was a big deal or anything. A few days later the mo reached out and said it was awkward and uncomfortable for me to have invited him to the hotel and it made everyone feel bad and weird that he was there waiting for the wedding to end when they hadn't invited him. We were both a bit surprised. No one even knew he was there because it didn't come up at all during the wedding. It definitely wasn't a secret, and honestly, we wouldn't have thought it was a big deal if people did know. And he had only met the bride and groom like 6 times and had 0 issues with not being invited to such an intimate wedding. Also, if it matters, I was far from the only guest who didn't get a +1 and I never asked to be given a +1 for him. I have no clue if the mo told the bride and if the bride also thinks this was inappropriate. If she hasn't, I really don't want to contact her during her honeymoon to start drama. I didn't check or anything beforehand, that's my bad, I guess, so was inviting him really a big deal?
Not the a-hole. Let's see. You didn't. 1. Insist on getting a +1. 2. Throw a fit when you didn't get a +1. 3. Tell everyone how unfair it was that you didn't get a +1. 4. Tell anyone that your boyfriend was even there. 5. Complain about the fact that your boyfriend was sitting back in the room alone. 6. Sneak your boyfriend into the reception or sneak him some food or booze. 7. Leave the festivities early to get back to your boyfriend. So basically the mo was complaining that your boyfriend existed in the same space as you? Pfft.
And the MOH, gasp, saw him in the hotel room, minding his own business. Not interested in the wedding, not causing a problem, not costing anyone any money but UOP. How dare he? S.
Not the a-hole. This is really strange. It looks like folks are trying to create a problem when one doesn't exist. Both you and your boyfriend were happy to make the trip and for him not to intrude on the wedding. The whole incident just doesn't make sense.
Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend's a grown man who chose to go knowing full well he'd be spending the some alone time at the hotel and having his own mini vacation while you were at the wedding. There's no reason to feel bad on his behalf. I could maybe see it being awkward if the mo wanted to or assumed she would hang out with after the wedding. After all, she did walk with you to your room, so maybe she was anticipating being invited in. Maybe if they saw him around the hotel and felt compelled to make small talk or purposefully avoid him. But either way, who cares? So there was a few minuets of awkwardness. That happens in life sometimes. I absolutely wouldn't bring it up to anyone else, honeymoon or not, unless they bring it up first. Nothing can be changed about it, so I'd say just move on.
It made everyone feel bad and weird that he was there waiting for the wedding to end when they hadn't invited him. That doesn't even make sense. Destination weddings. We just can't win. Not the a-hole.
Everyone didn't even know he was there.
I guess she meant to say, me and my other 26 personalities.
Am I the a-hole for letting people know I was the only one in my department not invited to coworkers' wedding when they were told I couldn't attend? So a woman in my department got married. Everyone in the department, 10 excluding the bride, was invited except for me. I was personally told the wedding was being kept small as they didn't want to spend extravagantly. The others were told that I couldn't attend. At a department meeting following the wedding when the bride was back from the honeymoon, everyone was talking about the wedding. A coworker commented it was a shame I couldn't attend. I remarked that I wasn't even invited. I could see the bride's face visibly change, and now she is mad at me and our working relationship is cordial at best. To further this, our department had a dinner and celebration for her and I contributed to the gift. The date was selected and changed based on others' availability, but I couldn't attend due to a trip overseas I had planned last year. It wasn't even discussed if it could be changed so I could attend. The person organizing it was another coworker and her best friend. I think this other coworker and not the bride herself is the one behind my exclusion for some reason unbeknownst to me. So am I the a-hole for clarifying that I was never even invited in front of the whole department that was told that I couldn't attend?
Info. Why would the bride have chosen to exclude you in particular? What might have happened in the past between you two that could have caused her to exclude you? I don't think you're an a-hole for saying you weren't invited. It's the truth. But I do wonder what the backstory is here.
No backstory. We had a really good work relationship, and everyone in the department gets along. No idea why the exclusion. The other coworker, who is her best friend, seems to not like me, and I have no idea why. I've been working with them for 4 years, and they were already here for a few years together before that. And it's not like I took a job they should have gotten because they don't have the skills to do the job I do, and that's not even a question. They aren't on that level and won't be. They do more admin type work.
Not the a-hole. Same thing happened to me. Every other woman in the office invited to a baby shower. I only knew because someone suggested we ride together. I was friends with the mother, but this was when I discovered that the host, another coworker, didn't want my kind in her home. The mother said she felt bad I was excluded but really needed all shower gifts, so she said did nothing. So the bride in this post may not have excluded OP, but she sure as hell knew about it. Too bad if she feels awkward now. Be cordial. Do your job, but remember these are not your actual friends.
Wow. Was this a race and or homophobic thing? I would not count that mother among my friends at all, to be honest. No one needs enemies with friends like that.
Nah, my kind refers to the fact they didn't want Redditors at the baby shower.
Not the a-hole. Why the hell would she expect you to just go along with it? I think it's hilarious, if I'm honest. Play stupid games and all.
What did she expect? Of course everyone would discuss her wedding when she got back. AMD, of course the one absentee from this group would stand out and be discussed. What did she expect you to answer? If you want someone else to lie for you, it helps to tell them beforehand. They don't know they're supposed to lie for you if you don't tell them.
Am I the a-hole for telling my husband we can get a new babysitter if he finds a better one for the same price? My husband and I have 3 kids, 10, 8, 5. We've had the same babysitter, Amelia, 20, for almost 5 years. Amelia has filled a few different roles for us. She was our date night sitter, then during the pandemic she was our nanny, went back to date nights, and now she gets to our house at 7:15 every morning, gets the kids out the door, drops them off at school or camp, then twice a week she babysits at night so we can run errands or get some time to ourselves. Amelia's sweet spot was 2022 to 2023. She had her car and license, had games and activities planned for everyone, was always on time and prepared, and was generally more available and focused. She's still good now, but doesn't always come with crafts and activities, can be 5 to 10 minutes late, and more often than not orders DoorDash for herself to our house. It's all manageable, and she still knows and loves our kids, and she's very affordable. The final straw for my husband was when Amelia told us that she had recently been diagnosed with autism and that she thinks our 8-year-old should get an assessment, as they are exactly alike. I never would have known Amelia is autistic, but I'm definitely willing to get an assessment. My husband saw it as rude and thinks she shouldn't have brought it up unless we asked. He thinks it's time to get a new sitter, so I told him we can get a new sitter if he can find someone just as good as Amelia for the same rate as her. He says we can afford better than Amelia, so we can spend more and get someone that will be focused on their work like Amelia used to be before she started college and got another job. I know we can afford more, but I still want to stick with Amelia. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband the only way we can replace Amelia is if we find someone as good as her for the same price?
Not the a-hole. First, Amelia has been your sitter for 5 years. Have your kids ever had another sitter consistently? As much as Amelia likes your children are probably attached to Amelia. Amelia being replaced without a conversation with them explaining it would be difficult for them. The younger two are at an age where they may believe Amelia isn't there because they did something wrong. They're going to ask where she is and why she left. Your husband needs to be prepared with answers. Second, it's very doubtful given that her stating a suspicion of your child being on the autism spectrum was done maliciously. Likely, Amelia went through a hard time when she was younger due to her autism. A lot of autistic girls on the minor end of the spectrum have their diagnosis missed well into adulthood. She's probably drawn comparisons based on her experience and may be hoping to save your child the same path she took.
Not the a-hole. So your husband is mad at Amelia for doing her job and bringing up potential issues where early intervention is literally life-saving? And why are you angry she orders DoorDash?
I'm not angry about it, but the kids see her getting DoorDash and want to get it too.
You should be providing food for her, or at least money for food.
The issue here isn't the sitter at all. It was how your husband felt a potential diagnoses, a potential for answers as to why some behavior occurs, is rude. Her saying she sees similar traits wasn't rude, it was a big heads up to a potential life-changing development. If your husband thinks it's rude, then there's a chance he's going to subconsciously think less than of your child if she is correct. If you choose to progress further with a diagnosis, please watch how your husband reacts to it all and how he treats your children. I've seen a lot of parents turn sour because their kids were neurodivergent, even ADHD. I've seen some nasty discrimination by parents. I recommend asking him straight out why he felt that was rude.
I can guarantee you, no other babysitter is going to bring any crafts or activities. Even if she brings nothing, it sounds like she is spending her time interacting with them and not on her phone the whole time. Also, who cares if she orders something to eat? She wants her own food. And saves you money in the long run. Now, being consistently 10 minutes late can be annoying. So ask her to do better about showing up on time, or tell her an earlier time to get there and leave a time buffer. As long as you guys are getting to work on time and the kids get to school on time, 5 minutes doesn't make a difference. As for the autism thing, really, if her teacher or a camp counselor said it, would he have them change teachers or pulled her from camp? No, seriously, just have her tested. Then you know. If she does, you can get her help with any issues she may have. If she doesn't, then just inform Amelia that you tested her and she is not autistic and ask her to please not bring it up again.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.